I did not choose this word chose me. I come to you not with speculation, not with opinion, but with a burden, a revelation sealed in the stillness of prayer, confirmed by the trembling of the Spirit within me. On the night watches I saw it, a man exalted in the eyes of the world, seated in power, lifted high, but in the courts of heaven his days were already numbered. The writing was on the wall. July 26, 2025 marked, appointed, etched into eternity as the moment when God's hand would move, not in whispers but in thunder. I saw the removal not by might, not by politics, not by the plans of men, but by the decree of the Almighty, who sets up kings and brings them low. This is not just a date, it is a divine act, a shaking, a sign, for God has watched, God has waited, but the line has been crossed. And now, what was once protected is now exposed, what was once exalted is now being humbled. Brace yourself, because what I am about to reveal will shake you, awaken you, and call you to stand in the hour of divine justice. The pattern of removal. When kings are weighed, there is a mystery written across the pages of Scripture, from Babylon to Jerusalem, from ancient empires to modern capitals. The mystery of divine removal. When kings rise by their own strength, when rulers harden their hearts and close their ears to the voice of the Lord, when power becomes a throne of pride rather than a mantle of purpose, the God of heaven begins to weigh them, not with human scales, but with his own. This is not new, this is ancient, this is the pattern of removal repeated from age to age. I speak not out of political zeal nor human bias, but as a watchman whose eyes have seen the writing, whose ears have heard the trumpet. For what is written in Daniel is not confined to the past. It is a blueprint of how heaven deals with pride. The king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, stood on his palace roof and declared the greatness of his own hand, the glory of his own name. But before the words left his lips, judgment fell. His crown was removed, his sanity was shaken, his throne was brought low, he was weighed, and found wanting. Centuries later, his descendant Belshazzar feasted in arrogance, mocking the holy vessels, profaning the sacred, daring heaven to respond. And heaven did. In a single night, the kingdom was taken, the ruler struck down, the regime overturned. Why? Because heaven had waited, watched, and when the fullness of arrogance reached its tipping point, the decree went forth, mean, tekel, upharsin. You have been weighed in the balances and found wanting, and this ancient decree echoes again in our time. I have seen it in prayer. I have felt it like fire in my bones. The scales of heaven have tilted, and July 26, 2025 is not a day chosen by man. It is a day marked by God. On that day, a ruler shall be removed not because of an election, not because of media, not because of enemies, but because the King of Kings has issued a verdict. This is not about one man alone, it is about the pattern that runs through time, the justice that cannot be bribed, the holiness that cannot be mocked. For when the leaders of nations forget who raised them up, when they exalt self over service, lies over truth, and corruption over righteousness, the Lord does not sleep. He waits, he warns, and then he acts. And I say to you, we are now at that point. The scales are tipping, the hourglass is emptying, the Lion of Judah is not silent. July 26 will be a sign, not just of judgment, but of transition. A door will close. A chapter will end, a power will fall, and the earth will tremble. Some will be shocked, others will deny it, but the remnant will recognize it not because they are political, but because they are prophetic. They have felt the unrest in their spirit, the urgency in their dreams, the shift in the heavens, and now comes the manifestation. Do not think this is just about earthly kingdoms. It is about the kingdom of God invading the kingdoms of man. When God removes, he also repositions. When he strikes down, he also raises up. But before the rising comes the reckoning, and before the new season comes the shaking. If you look only with natural eyes, you will see chaos. But if you see through the Spirit, you will see divine order. For God never removes without a reason and never acts without a purpose. This ruler, this throne, this moment, it has all been examined by heaven. And the verdict is removal. He has been weighed in the scales and found wanting. And just as Babylon fell in a single night, so too will this man's power unravel not by man's plan, but by God's decree. The question is not whether it will happen. The question is how you will respond when it does. Will you fear? Will you fall into confusion? Or will you recognize the fingerprint of God and rise with holy clarity? For the pattern is not just about them, it's about us. God is not only weighing kings, he is weighing his people. How will the church respond? With compromise or courage? With silence or with a voice like a trumpet? For if the shaking of thrones does not awaken the people of God, then the shaking has been in vain. But I declare it will not be in vain. July 26 will be a turning point. The pattern is repeating. And just as God removed Saul to make way for David, just as he overturned Pharaoh to release his people, just as he silenced Herod with a single breath, so will he now deal with the proud in our time. He is not late. He is precise. He is holy, and when he moves, no force in hell or earth can stand in his way. Prepare yourselves. Do not fear. Watch and pray, for what is coming is not a collapse, but a correction. A removal, yes, but also a repositioning for what is to come. And those who have ears to hear will know that July 26 was never ordinary. It was appointed. It was sovereign. It was a divine act of justice echoing through the corridors of time. Another chapter in the mystery of when kings are weighed and heaven intervenes. The mystery of the date, July 26, in the timeline of judgment. There are no accidents in the calendar of God. He who aligned the stars, who orchestrated the feasts of Israel, who caused the flood in the days of Noah to begin precisely on the 17th day of the second month, is the same God who appoints dates for divine turning points. And now July 26, 2025 stands as such a date, not randomly chosen, not politically assigned, but divinely appointed, echoing with the mystery of judgment and revelation. In the natural, it may appear as just another day, another Saturday in the rhythm of summer, but in the spirit, it is pregnant with divine meaning. In the biblical calendar, this date aligns with moments in history where God shifted nations, confronted powers, and interrupted cycles. It is as if heaven has pressed a seal into the timeline of man and said, "This far and no further." The number 26 in Scripture is connected to the name of the Lord, whose Hebrew letters Yod equals 10, He equals 5, Vav equals 6, He equals 5 equal 26. It is the sacred number of authority, of divine presence, and of covenant. So when the 26th of a month is highlighted, God is saying, I am stepping in. I am the one who reigns. And July, the 7th month in our Gregorian calendar, is the number of completion, divine rest, and the ending of cycles. 7 is the day God rested. The year debts were released. The trumpet was blown. Put together, July 26 is a day marked by the end of a cycle, the intervention of divine authority, and the removal of that which has exceeded its season. What was hidden will be revealed. What has been propped up by deception will be exposed by truth. And though men may resist, though principalities may rage, nothing can reverse what heaven has decreed. This is not just the fall of a man. It is the fall of a system, the exposure of a structure, the collapsing of an idol disguised as leadership. The Lord is using this moment to wake up the blind, to shake those who have put their trust in flesh, and to separate the wheat from the chaff. For July 26 is not just judgment, it is mercy in disguise. For when God tears down, it is to rebuild rightly. When he removes, it is to redeem. But to those who are asleep, it will feel like chaos. To those who have ears to hear, it will sound like the shofar on Mount Sinai, loud, alarming, unmistakable. And here is the mystery many will not even notice at first. Just as in the days of Belshazzar, the party will continue, the laughter will echo, the gold will shine, and yet the kingdom will have already been taken. The verdict will already be written in the invisible realm, for God does not wait for man's applause or headlines to act. He moves when the iniquity is full, when the appointed hour strikes. This is the hour. The books have been opened, the account has been settled, and the 26th of July will not go down in history as a day of politics. It will be remembered by the remnant as the day God moved, a shift in authority, a collapse in the spirit realm, a repositioning of principalities. It will ripple into August, into September, into the remainder of 2025. Things will begin to unravel. Voices once loud will grow silent. Faces once familiar will vanish from prominence, and behind it all will be the hand of the Lord. Do not look for lightning or earthquakes, for some removals happen quietly, like Saul's rejection. Saul still wore the crown, but heaven had already anointed David. Saul still sat on the throne, but the Spirit had already departed. And so it will be in our time on July 26. Something will shift that no eye can fully see, yet everything after it will begin to change. For the kingdom will begin its transfer. The hourglass is empty, the sentence is passed, the scroll is sealed, the throne has been weighed. The timeline is not waiting for man's permission. It is being guided by the Ancient of Days. And to the remnant I say, do not fear this day treat, rejoice in it. For the Lord disciplines those he loves and removes that which hinders his purpose. July 26 is not just a line on a calendar. It is a window in the heavens. Look through it, hear the whisper in the whirlwind, see the hand behind the headlines, for when God moves on a day, that day becomes eternal. Remember the dates throughout Scripture: Passover, Pentecost, Tisha B'Av, all marked by divine events that shaped history. So too, this July 26 will stand among them as a turning point, not yet understood by the masses, but recognized by those who walk with God. Watch closely, pray fervently, be still and know the Lord is not reacting, he is orchestrating. And on July 26, the next movement begins. The mystery of this date is that it will divide time just as the Red Sea divided for Moses, not by might, not by strategy, but by divine command. What was once unshakable will shake. What was once untouchable will fall. What was once praised will be pierced, and it will be known the Lord has acted. July 26, 2025, marked by the finger of God. A throne touched by God. What happens when heaven intervenes? There are moments in time when the thrones of men are not touched by assassins or armies, not shaken by protest or policy, but by the invisible, unstoppable hand of heaven. A touch so subtle that it is missed by the proud, and yet so violent in the spirit realm that its aftershocks ripple through generations. This is such a moment. This is such a throne. And this is what happens when God himself reaches from eternity and lays his hand upon the seat of a ruler who has exalted himself above truth, above justice, above the sacred order of heaven. For when God touches a throne, he doesn't need to announce it with the trumpet of man. He does not require majority votes, court decisions, or earthly alliances. He speaks and it is done. He judges and it stands, and the one who was lifted high is brought low, not by human rebellion, but by holy intervention. In the days of Herod, the people cried out, the voice of a God, not a man. And Herod received the praise, drunk on his own glory, bloated by the applause of the people. But the hand of the Lord moved in judgment, quietly, swiftly, finally. He was struck not by human hands, but by the angel of the Lord. His throne was touched, his body was broken, his name became a warning. So it is again. I saw it, a vision, vivid and heavy, a throne trembling under the weight of unseen fire. Not fire from below, but fire from above. The throne of this man, this modern Herod, this one who sat secure in his pride, believing himself untouchable, was being touched, not by enemies, but by the very hand that placed kings in their positions. Heaven was not silent. The throne had already been examined. The sentence had already been written. And when heaven touches a throne, no advisors can prevent it. No system can sustain it. No deception can shield it. Saul still wore the crown, but his destiny was already sealed. Belshazzar still drank from the holy vessels, but the kingdom had already passed. And now a ruler in our day stands in similar danger, thinking himself still enthroned, still applauded, still celebrated, but not knowing that heaven has already withdrawn its hand of protection. The light that once shone is now flickering. The authority that once seemed secure is unraveling at the seams, and the moment of intervention, July 26, is the threshold, for heaven is about to touch the throne, not with mercy, but with judgment, not with delay, but with execution. It will begin in the unseen, but it will manifest in the seen, and many will not understand. They will look for natural explanations. They will point to politics, health, scandal, or confusion, but they will miss the true cause. The throne was touched by God. The realm of man is governed by elections and legalities, but the realm of heaven is governed by righteousness, truth, and timing. And when unrighteousness defiles the seat of power, and truth is cast down in the streets, heaven does not wait forever. The long suffering of God is not weakness, it is grace. But when grace is despised, judgment is triggered, and I declare the trigger has been pulled. The throne is trembling. The one who has mocked justice, manipulated truth, oppressed the righteous, and exalted wickedness is being summoned, not before man's courts, but before the divine court that needs no jury. When God touches a throne, it is never the same again. Either it becomes sanctified or shattered. Either it turns toward God or it is torn down completely, and in this case the latter shall be true. July 26 will be the breaking point, the unveiling of what heaven has already decided. I do not speak of possibilities. I speak of what is set in motion. Just as Pharaoh hardened his heart, believing himself to be a god among men, so too has this ruler resisted every whisper of repentance. And just as the Red Sea swallowed the pride of Egypt, so too will this throne be swallowed by the weight of its own defiance. A divine removal is not just political, it is prophetic. It is heaven's way of saying enough. And when God says enough, angels are dispatched, structures collapse, secrets explode, and powers fade like morning mist. This is not the fall of a man alone. It is the fall of a throne, a symbol, a spirit that has lifted itself above its place. The Lord is reclaiming space that was once surrendered. He is cleansing altars that were defiled. He is answering the cries of the hidden, the humble, the intercessors who wept in silence and fasted in the shadows. You will see the unraveling begin, first behind closed doors, then in whispers, then in headlines, and by the time the world begins to comprehend, heaven's work will already be complete. The throne will be empty, not because of politics, but because of providence. The Lord does not merely remove, he redeems. He does not only strike down, he also lifts up. So this moment is not just about ending, it is about clearing space for what is to come. But before there can be a rising, there must be a shaking. Before the new throne can be anointed, the old must be removed. It is the pattern of David and Saul, of Moses and Pharaoh, of Elijah and Ahab. Thrones touched by God become either altars or ashes. And on July 26, a throne that has long resisted God will feel the fire not to refine, but to remove. Watch for the suddenness, watch for the silence that follows the noise, watch for the confusion among those who trusted in man, for the Lord is not only shifting leadership, he is shifting a generation. What he is doing in the natural is a mirror of what he is doing in the spirit. The idols are falling, the pride is collapsing, and the thrones that resisted him will be no more. Heaven has touched the throne, and nothing can stop what comes next. The fall of power, a sign for the remnant. The fall that is coming is not just the collapse of a man. It is a divine sign sent directly to the remnant, the hidden ones, the misunderstood ones, the watchful and the worn, those who have prayed through tears, discerned through silence, and endured through persecution. The fall of this power is not just a correction in leadership, it is a prophetic marker in the unfolding plan of God, a trumpet blast in the realm of the Spirit, a signal that the age is shifting and that heaven is summoning its warriors to rise. This is not merely about judgment. It is about validation for the faithful, confirmation for the consecrated, and awakening for the weary. The remnant, long ignored, long mocked, long pushed to the edge, will suddenly realize that what they felt in the Spirit was never delusion. It was discernment. For God is speaking not just through earthquakes and wind, but through removals. When power collapses at the top, it is because something holy is rising from the bottom. And when the throne is emptied, it means a new authority is about to be crowned, not a man of politics, but a movement of purity. This is not a worldly revival, it is a prophetic reckoning, and the fall will mark the moment where the invisible church, the true church, not the institutional machine, will rise like a banner in the midst of war. The removal of this ruler is a coded message to the remnant. It has begun. You prayed and I heard. You waited and I moved. You watched and I responded. July 26 will split time for you. It will separate your struggle from your season. For many of you, the delay has felt unbearable, the silence deafening, the battles unrelenting. But when this man is removed from power, the chains around your assignment will break. Doors that were shut will open. Tongues that cursed you will be silenced, and you will know the battle was never about you. It was about what God hid inside you. The enemy sought to crush you because he knew what this day would release. And the fall of this power is not just a change in leadership. It is a divine permission granted to the faithful. You will advance, you will declare, you will walk in boldness. The silence is over. The weeping may have endured for a night, but July 26 is a dawn for the remnant. God is giving you a sign, not in the stars, but in the headlines, not in dreams alone, but in global shaking. And when this throne collapses, know that it is heaven saying, "Now I will arise." Do not be distracted by the world's chaos in that hour. Do not be moved by the mocking voices who try to explain it away, for this will be the hour of double vision. Those with carnal eyes will see crisis, but those with spiritual eyes will see commissioning. The fall of this man will trigger events that will lead to exposure not only in government, but in the church. False shepherds, hirelings, celebrity preachers who made covenant with power instead of purity. They too will begin to fall one by one as this prophetic domino spreads through the landscape of the compromise. It will begin with one, but it will not end with him. It will shake every realm, and God says to the remnant, be ready to run. Because this is your moment of release, you have passed through the fire. You have passed through the crushing. You have passed through the isolation. But you were hidden for this. You were preserved for this. The very fall that will confuse the world will confirm your calling. And with the collapse of this power, angelic assignments will be released over your lives. Blueprints will be delivered in dreams. Territories will open. Nations will call. Miracles will increase. You will operate with clarity, courage, and conviction. For what falls in the natural releases something in the spirit. The enemy had planted this man as a blockade, a human altar of arrogance that resisted the purposes of God, but no more. God is dismantling it. Not slowly, not quietly, but in a moment. July 26 is not only a judgment, it is a coronation for the remnant, a crowning of the obscure, a rising of the misfit prophets, the rejected revivalists, the wounded intercessors. God is saying, you were never forgotten, you were being prepared, and now your moment has come. You will look back on the fall of this throne as the moment the shaking began, not for destruction, but for release. For realignment, for redemption, many will say, why now? But you will know, because it had to happen before the harvest. The ground had to be cleared, the idol had to be crushed. The spirit behind the throne had to be cast down. And now God is making room, not for a system, but for a sound, the sound of the remnant rising, the sound of voices long silenced, the sound of purity returning. Do not miss your hour. The remnant has cried, how long, Lord? And now heaven answers now. July 26 will not just remove a man, it will reveal a people forged in obscurity, refined in warfare, and released in glory. And as this power falls, the earth will tremble, but the remnant will rise. The shaking and the shifting. Prepare for what comes next. What is coming after the fall is not calm. It is consequence. It is not merely the end of a season, but the violent shifting of one age into another. When God removes a man, a power, a throne, it is never in isolation. It is always the prelude to a greater shaking. July 26 will mark not only a removal, but an unlocking of global events long held in restraint. For as one power falls, many things will be set in motion. Dominoes in the spirit realm, collisions in the political sphere, eruptions in the church, and unveiling in the nations. The shaking that follows will test foundations, expose intentions, and demand decisions. And the Spirit of the Lord is crying out, prepare, for what comes next will not look like what came before. You must not interpret the shaking as disaster. It is divine disruption. The world will interpret it as chaos, but to the discerning, it is correction. Heaven is not just purging one man, it is purifying a generation. Everything that can be shaken will be shaken. Systems, alliances, institutions, ministries, even families. Because God is preparing a remnant not just to witness the shift, but to lead in the midst of it. The spiritual atmosphere will shift rapidly. What once seemed stable will feel uncertain. What once appeared powerful will disintegrate before your eyes. And God says, this is my doing. He is uprooting what was never planted by him. He is dethroning what exalted itself. He is removing what delayed his move. And as the shaking spreads, do not cling to old methods, old voices, old wineskins. They will not carry what is coming. You must walk in new discernment, daily revelation, and radical obedience. You must be agile in the spirit and unshakable in your posture. The shifting will demand decisions. Where you go, who you walk with, what you say yes to. You cannot afford to move out of habit or sentiment. You must hear clearly, this is the way, walk in it. The prophetic shaking will separate the flesh from the spirit, the man made from the God, breathed, the spectators from the surrendered. And the Lord is saying, I will raise up new voices in the midst of this. Voices born in the wilderness. Carriers of fire, unknown to platforms but known in the courts of heaven. These voices will not flatter, they will strike, they will not echo, they will declare, they will not bow, they will roar, and through them the Lord will release the next phase of the battle plan. But only those who are positioned rightly will hear them. If your heart is still tethered to the system that God is tearing down, you will miss the sound of the new. If your identity is still wrapped in a name or platform, you will crumble in the shaking. God is calling his people to come out from the clutter, to purify their motives, to rebuild the altar, and to take up their cross again, not as a symbol, but as a sentence to die to self, for only the crucified will carry the weight of the next glory. There is a shifting of mantles underway. What has been withheld is about to be released, but not to the proud, not to the polished, not to the popular. It will come upon the humble, the bruised, the obedient. And with that mantle comes responsibility to speak what is uncomfortable, to stand when others flee, to weep when others laugh, to fight when others sleep. What comes next will require boldness and brokenness in equal measure. You will need both the sword and the towel, the authority to confront and the humility to serve. This is not revival as you imagined it. This is divine war, the war over altars, over nations, over generations. And those who thought they could stand on the sidelines will be pulled into the fray. The shaking will find everyone. No one will be untouched. The shift will demand clarity. And many will run to false refuge, to politics, to prophets for profit, to movements that promise comfort without consecration. But they will not last. Only the hidden ones, the faithful ones, the burning ones will endure and emerge. The Lord is forming a Gideon's army, reduced, refined, but ready. He is marking his soldiers not with ink, but with fire. Their names are not famous, but their prayers have shaken hell. And now he says, arise, take your place, the hour is upon you. The shaking will open doors no man can shut. It will reveal paths long blocked. It will uncover plans heaven has kept in secret places, but those who fear will miss it. Those who compromise will fall. Only the anchored, the aligned, and the awakened will navigate what comes next. This is not a time to build empires. It is a time to build arks, for the rain is coming, and the ark must be ready. Not just for safety, but for stewardship of the next move of God. You must prepare, not out of panic, but out of purpose. Prepare your house, your heart, your altar. Clean out what is old. Consecrate what is sacred. Guard your oil, for many lamps will go out in the shaking, but yours must burn brighter. You were born for this hour, not to fear it, but to rise in it. This is your commissioning. July 26 will be remembered as the first domino, the sound of the first gate opening. What follows will demand everything, but it will give more than it takes, for in the fire the pure will rise. In the storm the bold will lead, in the shift the chosen will shine, so tremble not at the shaking. Lift up your eyes in the storm, the King is moving, and you, remnant, warrior, intercessor, prophet, you are part of what comes next.